And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, we are back, and we have a very special guest today.
Yeah, Brad, we're back and better than ever, and that is in large part because of our special guest. He's incredible, and he's making his GI debut. He is the host of the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast NXT show. He is the, dare I say, CEO of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, and he is joining us from Southbridge, Massachusetts. Throwback is in the building. Throwback, welcome to GI. How are you, bro?
Well, I'm gonna say this much: my internet's gonna freeze. Period.
Wow! Wow!
That was
By saying this. What's up, boys? How you doing?
That was perfect. Clip it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like
it'll
freeze period of time. But like I say, what's good, boys? How you doing?
Doing great. Doing
great, man. Bless. So happy you're here. I know we have a lot to get into. Man, Brad, we have so much on this episode. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I can't wait. So let's get into it. Tyler, you want to kick us off with this? This is going to be a special edition. I know it's your favorite. It's your favorite segment of mine, but we're going to share it today.
Yeah, well, I'm honored that you passed it to me, Brad. I know you're coming off a busy week with the show at Marana High School. So proud of you and the kids there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you in part because the artist you are and the amazing co-host you are, but also because you are an incredible father of the amazing Freya Winchester. We also have a fellow amazing dad on the show today. So it is only right that we kick off this episode with a very, very special edition of Someday When You Have Kids. Hit the music.
And now it's time for
I'm crazy.
Someday When You Have Kids.
You're crazy.
All right. Well, someday let's get into it, Brad. I don't want to steal your shine, so please jump in whenever you would like. But Throwback, along with being a fellow contributor in the wrestling space, is a dad. And just some quick background, Throwback, when I first discovered you, it was when you were launching Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. And, you did not have a child back then. You were not a father. No. And so being able to witness your journey, not just as a creator, but as a person, as a dad now in this span, it's been a privilege to witness that. So it's maybe a silly question, but I think we'll start here. What's it like being a dad?
Oh, it's amazing. Be a pain in the ass sometimes, I'll be honest with you, because, there'll be those 3 a.m. things when Brody turns around and says, it's time to play and be a rock star. And then, my fiance's got 3 other kids. She has a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And the 15-year-old has to be at the bus around 6:20. So he's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. If Brody decides he wants to be a party animal and wake up at 3, that doesn't work.
How old is Brody now?
It will be 20 months very soon.
20 months. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Like you said beforehand, I wasn't a dad and stuff. I met Amanda, and we've been together for about almost 3 years now. We found out when her and her oldest had COVID, that she was pregnant with Brody. We backtracked when Brody was conceived. It was actually my mom's birthday in November, which is weird. And it just progressed, and he came a month early. He had 2 air pockets in his lungs. Yeah, froze. There you go. It's gonna happen. And this is the way it's been recently. He had a regular heartbeat and a sleep spell. The kid's been a fighter the whole time. He just recently had surgery for tubes in his ears and a scope down his bronchial path, and it turns out that it could be a possibility he have a cleft that's not there. that's open in the track, and they may have to stitch it up, so they got to do another swallow study. So it's got its ups and downs, but it's more so like the first time I changed a diaper after Amanda has her emergency C-section, and I literally had to run up the stairs, gag, and let every fluid in my body came out, just because I changed a diaper once, and that I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Brad's changed a few of those, from what I understand.
We would be watching while Amanda was recovering, because we lived at the condo at the time, from the beginning of when Brody was born. Northern Law and Animal Planet, because that was the only thing that would keep us awake, just because it was from New Hampshire and stuff. Just funny stuff in everything else. The kid's a tank. Like, everybody I talk to, doctors and stuff, they're like, he's a big boy. He's over 3 feet tall right now, and he's 30 pounds.
Wow.
Like, if I pick him up now, his head, top of his head, is over near my ears, and his toes, his big toe will be right near my kneecap.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Growing already.
I feel like that's Freya's height now, and she's 6.
Freya,
we just we went to go see my best friend and his daughter, who's my niece, is 3, and he's almost the size of her, and she's 3. So it's crazy how things are. I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be a dad since I was 16. I know that everybody's like, that's really young, but my entire family knew how I wanted to be like that without me saying it. Growing up, my dad wasn't really around as much after I was 9 and stuff. We're close now, but he's not like my dad. I can ask him questions, but he doesn't know everything, obviously. But it's just, I'm very, very grateful for the people I have around me, the people in the community and stuff like that. Like, if I have a question about dad stuff, my buddy Mark will pick up the phone and answer and talk to me and stuff. But I wouldn't, as much as Brody gets on my nerves sometimes, that sometimes that does happen. I wouldn't change anything for the world. He is like, him, Amanda, and the kids are the reason why I do the things I do.
That's beautiful, man. I just want to interject here. Your story really resonates with me because of that last part you mentioned of always wanting to be a dad. And I find myself in that position now too, entering my 30s and kind of being a dad is...
Oh, you're a baby.
I'm a baby.
Dude.
So, and that's what I want to ask you about though, man, because it's tough, right? On one hand, this is sort of a life goal, is to be a dad, but I'm a big believer in you have to find the right person to do it with. So what was that process like for you as we enter our 30s, and in your case, heading into our 40s, when you're like, oh man, I really want to do this. I really want to have a child, but I need to find that right person first. That must have been really difficult for a lot of years, right?
Oh, you're digging in how I met Amanda, basically. Thanks.
I mean, you can, talk.
Yeah.
Talk,
so what happened
that's
was,
my only
like I said, I'm an open book, and everybody in this community knows this. Whether it's Pluggo, whether it's Bad Blood, everybody knows this stuff.
But it's just hard. It's just hard, right? When you're like, man, am I going to be a dad? Is this going to happen for me?
Well, the funny part about it is that I was on Facebook dating. I was on some of the dating sites trying to figure out all this stuff. And then I looked at around the local area, and Amanda lived in Worcester at the time. And, I just thought she was cute and, started a conversation and stuff. And it took about 3 weeks for us to actually meet. I had her come to the condo and hang. We ended up trying to go out to this restaurant. I was trying to impress her. There's this one restaurant that I love. And I tried taking her there, and they were closed.
Oh, no.
So
she forgave you, though.
Oh, we just went back to the condo. I had like a whole the way I did the studio stuff for the podcast when I moved from upstairs to downstairs. I had beanbag chairs and stuff, and we just sat there and just talked the whole night. And I was thinking, I can't, I don't want her to leave. Like the whole time, I'm like, I don't want her to leave me.
You found your person.
And as soon as she walked in, I walked out to have her walk in with me and stuff. And she took her jacket off and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And then it just progressed. And I was like, I don't want you driving back to Worcester. I want you to stay here. and she moved in that September. Everybody I talked to was like, "This is insane. You met her in June and you have her moving in September." I'm like, I'm going with my gut on this.
When you know, you know.
And then Lily moved in October, and it's been like this ever since. So it's like you have, for me it's different because also being a Pisces too, we're gonna go astrology on this one. And I have certain poles for certain people that impact my life. Like I had this pole to Mark. We didn't like each other at first, Roddy, but then now we're like brothers. And his wife is the same way. They're like, I can't picture my life without having them. Gotta love freezing. I can't picture my friends being them two without me. You know, there's a reason why he's Brody's godfather and stuff. Mm-hmm. But once I started talking to Amanda, I felt that pull, and I'm like, there's something here. And then it's the same thing. Like I wake up when I was waking up for work and stuff, and I didn't want to go. I went because I wanted to make sure she had a better life.
Exactly, and
that pull still keeps going. Like she's visiting her friend right now, and I want to be where she is. And it's like if you feel that my friend calls a gravitational pull using science when it comes to people, that's something I'm telling you it has to be. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly the only best advice I can tell. If you feel like that pull towards someone, follow it. You might be surprised what might happen.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's beautiful, man. I love how that was like half someday, half dating advice from our guy, Brad. That was beautiful. You guys continue to inspire me, and you know who else inspires me? Mercedes Moné, because she.
I was gonna say you might catch Amanda hear a voice on camera on some of the shows too back then.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, guys, we got to get into it. AEW, huge week, Brad. Big business. You want to kick us off here, and then we'll pass the mic to Throwback, who was in attendance.
Okay, yeah. Listen, we had a musical this week. We did Once Upon a Mattress. Nobody had heard of it. Everybody that went loved it. It was great. Set looked good. You know, last day putting stuff up. But it was the week before when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, we usually do our Thursday, Friday thing. We have dress rehearsal on Wednesday. And this year we're doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I looked and I was like, shit. This show starts at 6 p.m., which means I got to be backstage by 5 p.m. And that's what time I would be able to stream it out here because we're 3 hours back from the East Coast. So if I want to watch it live, I got to start at 5. And I have no shot of catching this live. It's like the biggest Dynamite of the year, and I'm not going to be able to see it. So I went on, and you can confirm this, I think, Tyler. I went on Do Not Disturb. I know I got a text from you because I was checking during the night, like, did anything break?
Yeah.
And all I could think was like, I had to.
D&D Jones. All I texted you was, well, this rules, period.
Yes, that was it. And that was it. And the thing that sucks is that I probably could have streamed it because I was like, well, I don't know. I hope they go CM Punk with this and do it to open the show. And they did. And I could have seen it probably, but I was putting out fires, mostly metaphorical fires, at the beginning of the show. So the moment I left, I was already wired. It was like 9:45 when I finally kicked people out. 10 o'clock, went home, made a frozen pizza, sat down and started watching it. And I know all I did was text you CEO over and over and over again. I was really excited for this. What a show. Great show, actually. Just top to bottom, it was a really good show. But the debut was really awesome. Feel great for her. Mostly I'm just glad the women's division just got a whole lot stronger, and I hope that they continue to push and promote that. It's gonna be wild when Jamie Hayter gets back, and if they end up doing some cross promotional stuff with CMLL and Stardom, it's going to be crazy there. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to all the things that could happen. Fun night of Graps. Sad I couldn't watch it live, but glad I got to watch it that night.
100%. And like you said, the card was really stacked from top to bottom. But I think we gotta kick it off with the opener. But again, we have some actual insight into this, Brad, not just from our couches, but Throwback was actually in the building in TD Garden for this. Throwback, let's just start with the most noteworthy talking point of the show. Mercedes debuting in AEW. What was it like to witness that live?
I've been to shows, like I said, I'm old enough to remember the old Boston Garden. I've been at the Fleet Center when it was the Fleet Center. I've been into the TD Bank Garden for certain things. In that building, it compared to the old Garden, that's the loudest pop I've heard in my lifetime at the Garden, at the TD Garden.
Man.
And that even includes going to the Boston Garden. That's the biggest pop I've heard. If it was like the Songus Arena / Center, that'd be different, but this was just insane. And I think the most important thing for me as being somebody who's locally and supports local talent too, is that her saying from North Andover all the way to AEW becoming elite, that was very poignant because it's giving her, everybody who doesn't know her, the track of where she's gone. I got lucky. I actually seen her wrestle at a ballpark in Lowell Colelatcha Park when she was at Chaotic. And they had this huge ring set up at a Red Sox minor league game and stuff like that. But it's very awesome to see the trajectory she has and all that stuff. And just to mention Chaotic Wrestling, if you don't know about it, they do have a Twitch. But you've had so many talent go through there. You have Kofi, Carmello, Tommaso Ciampa. The list goes on and on that's gone through there. But and a lot of them, some of them are homegrown, like Carmello. Kofi was actually a 3-time state wrestling champion before he went to BC. Mm-hmm. And then, Mercedes, obviously. But it's just awesome to see how once the music hit and stuff, it was great. A lot of people agree that the placement was there. I think otherwise. I think it was great for the being a live show, but I think if they held it back a little more and had Joe's match in between the first and second hour with Wardlow, you could build up the anticipation and hype, because honestly, the match on TV probably translated right, but in person, after everything Mercedes said and did in that opener, you could feel the air rush right out in that beginning of that match. And it's because everybody energy was so spent on Mercedes, because being from Boston, that it just felt like you had not enough air. You had to catch your breath. And all of a sudden they went straight into Joe versus Wardlow, which match was freaking awesome. But it felt like you had to catch your breath because there's so much hype and anticipation in that one moment. So, I mean, the show overall was amazing live. I have one thing I want to say about Rampage at the end, because obviously they tape Rampage on it.
Right.
It was literally night and day being there. And I'm going to the DCU Center April 3rd to go see, AEW. I'm going to see Dynamite and Rampage again. But the thing is that it was literally night and day. There was so much hype. There was so much great fun in during Dynamite, that once they stopped and they hit the reset button to do Rampage, it went from beginning to end for that 2 hours. It was just nonstop fun. It was nonstop. But when it hit Rampage, you could hear the pin at the TD Garden. It was that quiet. I don't know if it translated Rampage on TV, but it was literally quiet. I looked around and they were like seats empty all the way in the back where I was, and I'm looking behind me and stuff. The fun part about it too is that you could see Bailey in the distance if you had a clear vision of it. On your phone when you're doing a panorama. You could see her. It was very fuzzy, but you can actually see her like going crazy over the rail. But overall, other than like Battleground for NXT and going to War Games, if I had to re-rate that and Death by Dishonor, I honestly think it'd be go Death by Dishonor 1 just for the quality of the show. Battleground would be 2. This show, Big Business would be close to 2, but it would be 3. But honestly, as a fan going to a show, the worst, and where I was located at the Garden, War Games was I was happy for my stepson to go to War Games, but I just was sitting there. I was like, I'm bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to add.
I don't want to be sitting there being.
No, of course not. No. What I wanted to add is
what's up with my internet?
No idea. It's hard. For a minute there, I thought you were very, because you were like, I don't want to be bored, and I thought you were just holding for effect,
striking the pose,
and then it turns out.
Like I said, if you guys are watching this, my internet's not that great. It goes about 45, and then it drops and stuff. It's weird how this tower is. It's a brand new setup, so I'm still, even though I've been having this since Christmas, I'm still trying to make it work. So if it goes in and out, I'm sorry, but it's just, I was literally bored at War Games the whole time, and I was all the way in the top or everything. Like, I could look down in the ring, but when they're showing you on the Tron about what's going on, you don't see it.
Yeah.
So, but going to Dynamite in a couple of weeks and stuff. So I'm hoping this is the first time I'm going to the DCU Center. So I want to see the difference between a big show, Dynamite show like that, like, big business, rather than just a regular Dynamite. So,
yeah.
But ultimately, everything she said in her promo was amazing. Her coming out at the end of the night was great. But just Rampage also, just because we're talking about Moné and stuff like that, because they're trying to get the momentum to go to Rampage from the taping, it just didn't register. Even though Rampage was awesome, it just didn't, it didn't feel like the same.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask, do you guys think Rampage should be moved to when they tape Collision? Collision? Because that would make more sense.
I think they should, I would love to see like a Ring of Honor and Rampage combined taping in a smaller venue. I think that way they could get those two, the taped AEW show and then the Ring of Honor show. We, Tyler, we were at the event in Phoenix. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. Twice now. And the first time we went, they were still doing dark and dark elevation, and going from that into a Dynamite that was a bit of a throwaway Dynamite, that first one we went to, and then into this last one, because the crowd was going crazy for that kind of bad card that we had for the first run, because they hadn't gone to Phoenix yet. The main event was Evil Uno, John Moxley, and it wasn't like a bad match or anything, but it was Evil Uno, John Moxley. So it was like,
as compared to Sting and Darby winning tag gold against Ricky Starks and Big Bill, after
Hangman and Swerve opened the show and put on an absolute banger. That whole card was on fire.
Timeless Tony, CMLL, BCC. You're right.
The announcement of Big Business. So all of those things were happening. But to your point, Throwback, I think this timing of Mercedes coming out, it made me think about the first dance and how we had CM Punk for basically a full half an hour, full whatever it was. And then, and granted, this was on Rampage, but to have that go right into Jurassic Express versus Private Party was always going to be a letdown after CM Punk coming back from wrestling for after how many years? 9 years, something like that. And then we had Jade beating Kira Hogan, and then Moxley against Daniel Garcia with Jeff Parker and Matt Lee still at that time, 2.0, before they got renamed. And looking at that, I'm like, they did not put their top stars after CM Punk. They did not put like what's going to be like a huge all-timer after that, even though I loved Jurassic Express and Private Party at that time. I just remember that match not quite meeting what I think people's expectations were, because it's a great time to get people's eyes on the product who are like, oh, who's going to be there? I watch WWE. Maybe I'll tune in and check this out because Punk's going to be back, or Sasha's here as Mercedes Moné. So I think they could have paced it out, because correct me if I'm wrong, they showed the shot from didn't they show the shot of somebody like honking the horn of a car rolling up, and then the door opening?
It was a Mercedes-Benz that
it was a Mercedes. Yes. A real nice
profile camera that they didn't want to pan up. They wanted to see like the old Vince McMahon, the door opening and stuff.
Yeah, and I love that. And they kind of did Edge's debut like that too, right? The car rolling up and then the shot. But then not making us wait, immediately going like they got out of the car and came out on stage instead of going, they're at the arena. Let's wait and see what happens later. I thought they were going to do the debut sort of the way that they did the debut, or the way that the show ended, with her coming out and having an interaction with Willow, since that was her last match for the strong title. So I thought that pacing wise, it probably could have switched it up, but I also didn't hate it because I had to sleep. I was watching that in the bed, like on my phone, just like grimacing, trying to gut it out to get to the end. I made it through that, and then I think I had to shut it off. And
If
then
it makes you feel better, I didn't get home until like almost 2 a.m. because I missed my exit going all the way.
No.
But I mean, everybody can see the way it was done. To me, being there, it was the right thing. But if it was somebody watching who would probably had the same thought I was, is that they should have put it right in the middle and not open with the championship and have like Joe and Wardlow before Willow and I think it's Rio. I'm not sure. I'm not good with names.
Yes.
No, you got
it. Have those two matches bookended, and then have Mercedes have the full 45 minutes going up there, because then you'll have all the rest of the matches. You'll have Ospreay before her, because Ospreay's promo was great and it would bring it up higher. And then you put the switch on and there's Mercedes, and then you have that carry on into Wardlow and Joe, and then Willow and Rio, and then you ended up with not even having Mercedes come back for the save. It to me, that's how it is. But I don't know how people in these businesses do it. So I'm just telling you my opinion. And it's just interesting too that they had another interview with her in the Legends area with Renee Paquette and on their site. And a lot of people don't point this out, but Fightful pointed out that she was at the Celtics game the day after, and they highlighted her on there and did the same thing. It's a great thing to see everything else. I hope one day, and this is selfishly, she goes back, as much as there's New Japan, there's AEW, WWE and stuff. I hope that they do. If she goes back into just like a one-time match kind of thing, a chaotic going against somebody who she sees is just when she's in town or something and just wants to hang out with people down there that trained her and stuff and just, say hi and everything, that she sees that could be somebody coming up, not even now in that where the position she was when she started, but coming up as that like earlier. And then just give that shine a little bit for be like, hey, you need to pay attention to this person kind of thing. Like Taker did when he was facing, Glenn Jacobs before he was Kane, like doing that kind of thing where he went down to an independent show and do that. I want to see her do that and then make people pay attention to somebody. It would be a great thing just to like nod that, hey, this is my past. I'm here now in my present and I'm looking forward ahead, because eventually, and then who knows, maybe convince Tony Khan to have them bring if they're in Boston, because they were bringing local talent in for Rampage too, but why not just have like the chaotic North American champion that they just crowned and have her face, Mercedes, for example, and have that person carry the chaotic title in and just give that nod saying, hey, Tony knows if it wasn't for what she did in her training in chaotic, she wouldn't be where she is now and all the things in life that she went through. It would make perfect sense to be like, okay, you've noticed the past. This is the present. This could be a future.
Exactly.
So my fiance texted me about the corned beef and cabbage. By the way, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
We recorded this on St. Patty's Day. Shout out to all.
But I think it's one of those things that they need to do eventually and go from there.
One, and just to round out our conversation here, guys. So I love that Mercedes mentioned unfinished business. She's here to take the division global. Also on this card, PAC returned. Okada's winning. Switchblade and the Guns are really jerks, as we assume, but they cemented it when they turned on on the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Yes, for sure. Throwback, you mentioned this, Brad. You mentioned this. Willow and Riho got that main event shine. Julia, Sky, Blue. They were all spotlighted. So really, really strong Dynamite. But speaking of people and companies we want to spotlight, we want to tell you about Grand Patio. Grand Patio exists to ensure you're all set for the great weather and great memories that await this spring. Whether you live in Arizona, Massachusetts, or elsewhere, they've got you covered. For over 20 years, Grand Patio has partnered with renowned designers to create equal, livable, and luxurious collections that can transform your backyard into a personal oasis. Their products include umbrellas, recliners, gazebos, sectionals, and much more. Visit our affiliate link, grandpatio.sjv.io/GIPod to shop their collection today.
The GI pod is capital GIP lowercase OD. That's important, as we learned last week.
Shout out to correct links. Shout out to my amazing co-host for me lobbing that up and him throwing it down. Yes, that is
yeah. So I don't have to talk about how the link doesn't work on air again. While it works, yeah.
Embrace the mess.
Yeah, embrace the mess.
Guys, something that is not messy right now is the build to Wrestlemania. Wrestling is just on fire. Throwback, it's that time of the show where we talk WWE. Obviously, we'll get to NXT because I know in many ways that's your area of focus. But I think we got to start again with the build to Wrestlemania. This card, night 1, night 2 is really coming together. How are you feeling about this epic show next month?
I think Mania is going to be very special this year, not because of being 40 years in the making. I think it's not. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be because Seth, Rock, and Cody and Roman. I think the match that might steal the show is going to be Jimmy and Jay. And I think more so because someone put this on Twitter earlier today about highlighting certain. They've only been, brother versus brother matches. There's only been 3 of its kind. I think and this is the 3rd one out of it. The first one, I hate my internet. Sorry. But the first one was actually Brett and Owen, and I think the other one, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Jimmy and Jay's the 3rd one. I know that.
I was gonna say Kane versus Undertaker, but that's when they were working. That's when they were working me when I was a kid.
No, but I'm saying like literally, yeah. I think it was Jeff and Matt that was at Mania. Jeff but okay. It's one of those things like even Rikishi said that if it's a business aspect on it, because he was on someone's show, I was just going through YouTube and stuff like that, watching all the shorts. And he said if it was a business aspect because of how hot Jay is, they're going to put Jay over, but they're going to make sure Jimmy is like strong. And I feel like with both of them, their physicality, both of them want to prove that they're the best in their families besides like Roman. They want to prove that, out of everything. I think that might be the match tonight. I think Becky and Rhea will be okay. The cards are going to be extremely strong. I think there's going to be a very heavy ECW presence too. I think Bubba Ray kind of just pointed it out 4/5/24, and he put that out there in a tweet. So I mean, like, there's something going to happen with ECW in the mix. It's in Philadelphia. I wouldn't put that past it. Mm-hmm. But I even put something crazy out on Twitter, and I've gotten yelled at for it. I wouldn't be shocked being 10 weeks out, almost 12 weeks out, because we're an extra 3 weeks out, and they're saying, 9 to 10 months? I wouldn't be shocked if, Charlotte pulls a John Cena and she shows up at the end of, Rhea versus Becky, and we get something at SummerSlam when she fully comes back of having a triple threat for both of them in that match to prove who it is. Bayley's going to win over Io. I have with the momentum she has, I have no qualms about that. It's well worth it. I think Alexa says she's going to be coming back. I wouldn't be shocked by SummerSlam. She's back and she faces Bayley for that title eventually. There's there's so many moving parts. They're still building so many things. Logan Paul, that stunner that freaking Austin Theory took the other night.
Caught that?
The 4 second later jump.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me about Rock getting a stunner, and he would just literally jump back
and then spring himself,
and then all of a sudden, like the 3 second spring up and drop down.
Yeah,
that kind of reminded me of that. But it's just, it's gonna be. I'm excited for all of this to happen, and I can't wait to see what they pull out next. I mean, I even put an idea out there with their relationship with TNA. Why not have Jordan Grace come back and defend the Knockouts Championship against, somebody that is right there? Jordan would win no matter what. That would be great. But it gives two companies a working business situation where one works with the other for the Rumble. Why not give their Knockouts champion or even their heavyweight champion a spot against somebody who they think that could work with him in order to get more exposure? You're going to have a working relationship with TNA, obviously. Hell, they just announced Bloodsport for GCW that same week with Shayna Baszler.
Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades.
Why not have GCW have a match at Mania just because of the fact that how close the Triple H is with the people that at GCW? If you help each other in a business, they'll help each other. It makes perfect sense. But I won't be shocked that we get more matches being announced. The Hall of Fame is going to be great. I'm sad Bray's not going to be a part of it, the way it's shaping up. But I really, really want to enjoy Mania, because last year's Mania, the only good match I thought for the whole time was Cody and Roman. And I'm more looking forward to where things are shaping up for Stand and Deliver than, night one of Mania. I'm not really into, as much as the hype is for that tag match, I'm not really in tune to it. At first I was, because it was Rock, but as it's been dragging towards the buildup on it, I think what they should have done with the tag matches, I think they should have done it at 41, whether it's in Vegas or in Minnesota, and build it up. Have none of them touch each other. Have Rock cost Cody the match at night 2, and then have Cody saying I was screwed and Rock saying you're never going to get a match, and put the stakes as where if they won the tag match in 41 on night 1, Cody would have the opportunity to go after Roman. Wait till Roman has doesn't have an opponent all the way until night 1, and then they announce that Cody wins it at 41 night 2 on night 2. What build up, because that will be the same thing they did with Cena and Rock 1 and 2, and it would get you more inclined. That would be long term, but they need the pop, they need the momentum, especially, I hate to say it, especially with that lawsuit over their heads for against Vince and stuff like that. They need positive HR PR kind of thing, and having Rock there and trying to make people forget about it, especially with all these places being sold out, it puts it. Plus, Rock's going to be still working at probably past Survivor Series. I think right before the Rumble next year, I think he's stopping. I that's not confirmed or anything, but that's my opinion. But it makes more sense to build it more long term than just trying to cram it right up front just because you need somebody to forget something.
Yeah, I think to your point, if this year was WrestleMania 41, I think they could easily pull the trigger on that event and go to 42. But I think because it is 40 and it's the 40th, they want to have their biggest moments all happen on this night. So there's probably pressure to make 40 stand out just because it's 40. You get that even number 10. They're going to try to make that a bigger deal. It's the first one with TKO. Rock's on the board. It's so difficult. But to your point, I would have loved to have seen that get drawn out now that Rock's in the mix. If Rock wasn't here, I think no, this is the year, pull the trigger on it. But I love this long, slow build. They know they can do that. And we were talking about earlier today that I think now that Rock wants to do more serious acting work, especially with A24 and doing more specific content, he's probably going to be freed up a little bit more from filming, because I don't think he has any active projects right now. And as far as I know, he's just waiting for the right ones. He's going to be picky, which selfishly, yay. I love that he's back in wrestling, if nothing else for his social media promos.
Have you
'Cause they're-
seen
and then the
Black Adam? That's all I gotta say. Have you seen Black Adam?
Again, he's waiting for the right roles to come along, so he can't play The Rock again in his movies.
I'll be honest. The one movie I'm looking forward to, as corny as it sounds, I want to see him as Maui on Moana. But that's the
100%.
Speaking which is that's the best part of that whole promo on Friday night, where he's like, "What can I say except
What can I
welcome?"
say? Yes,
Yeah, we got to mention that promo.
Yeah,
the social media promo then on SmackDown. The Rock is, man, he's back.
So one of the brother versus brother matches that we didn't mention was the, of course, 5-star classic Goldust versus Stardust at Fastlane in 2015. That is an all-time classic match that nobody ever talks about, and they corrected with their match in AEW, which was
so good.
Why they did that one.
Still one of the best in AEW history.
Yeah, but I forgot that was even a thing. I know Jeff and Matt Hardy have wrestled several times. The one in WWE wasn't very good, if I remember. And then they had their match in TNA. That was the final deletion, I think. I think that was right before he went back to WWE, Jeff, right?
Yeah, that seems like ages ago.
It seems like 100 years ago now. It's crazy how wrestling time moves differently than normal time.
It really does.
Yeah, it's really strange how that works.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, Throwback, as we just transition here to NXT. Obviously, we can follow your work and hear your perspective every week on the show. I just want to ask you one direct question here. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Trick returning to NXT this week, making the match official versus Melo at Stand and Deliver. I think both of these guys are in such a great advantageous position right now. Obviously, it would seem that Melo is going to be bidding adieu to NXT sooner than later, whereas Trick Williams just continues to ascend. He had that kiss with Lash Legend as well, which was, it's something that happened and is a storyline, I believe, to watch here moving forward. We haven't had one of those, feels like, in some time. But anyway, long-winded way of saying Throwback is our NXT.
Dexter and Indy, though. That was
Dexter and Indy. Thank you. Yeah.
That's right.
But given that you're our NXT guru here, Throwback, in terms of Trick and Melo, where is this rivalry ranking for you? I think since NXT relaunched 2.0 and then now in its current phase, to me, this rivalry is near the top, if not number one. It's been well built and it's been ongoing and is just starting to hit its climax here. Where does it rank for you? Is it at the top?
I'm going to pull a bit of NXT history out so you can get a guess on the difference between the two. Trick and Melo reminds me of O'Reilly and Cole, where, you had two good friends go after each other because one can't live with the out. Hayes is where Cole was. Riley was actually where, Trick is. I think Hayes goes up to the main roster. I think he ends up on Raw because you have Breaker on SmackDown. I think he ends up the night after and stuff. I have a feeling he'll end up with with the Street Profits, B-Fab, and Lashley. That's the way it seems like it might be hinting. But I have to. As much as Trick I didn't like Trick at the beginning. And personally, just not because of reason, because I didn't see how good he was, but now he's grown so much.
He improved, like Tiffany, the list just goes on and on.
But personally, for me, it's more so what happened after Battleground, where the cameras went off. And it tells a person's character when they do something about it. Now, Carmelo's from the area, from around where I'm from, and his family was there. They were literally the next row next to us. His mom and his nephew and stuff like that. And people kept bothering Carmello because he wanted to see his mom. He wanted to see his nephew and stuff. And then there's Trick coming around and stuff. And he took my stepdaughter, Lily's camera, when I said, this is her first wrestling show, because it was, and took a selfie with her. And it tells you that kind of person that's willing to take the time on it. And that ever since then, I have had nothing but I hate my internet. I'm gonna keep saying I hate my internet while we're recording, but I respect Trick as the person and stuff. His talent's there. He's growing and stuff. I think I think he'll be probably after Stand and Deliver, probably around SummerSlam time when they do their show for that, depending when they name said show. I honestly think that he will be the NXT champion at that after that show, and I honestly think that that first rivalry he has for when he does have that title is going to be Alexis King. So it's just I think they're raising the stakes on everything. I think he wins over Hayes, but I think Hayes does something to make Williams go off TV for like a week or two or something like that. And then he starts his feud. I think Ilya will go up after SummerSlam. Now that I see it more clearly now, because me and a few people were talking about having Ilya and Breaker against Gunther at WrestleMania for the IC title. You'd have history between all three of them and stuff. Ilya with Breaker and then Ilya with Gunther and stuff, but I don't think that'll happen. I think if they do anything, they pull something for the IC title, it will be Breaker and Gunther. But other than that, I mean, Ilya is going to drop the title to Hayes, and next thing you know, Obafemi comes running after somebody. So I mean,
speaking of talents that are ascending, I mean that guy is just he's box office.
He's one person I hope they don't rush too quickly, because with Breaker, what the problem with 2.0 beforehand is that because right now they're in the perfect place for NXT, because they have, and it feels, at least to me as somebody that pays attention to NXT, it has the feel of the black and gold a little bit. But the early black and gold, when they first had Seth as a champion and stuff, because once they reset it, press the reset button with the new logo and stuff, it feels like the black and gold, but it feels like they're freaking early years black and gold before you had the matches with the Alpha Academy, and you had Andrade and basically what the fuck?
Yeah,
sorry,
Drew
Andrade. Yeah,
DIY.
like you had all these things.
Adam Cole.
You had DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, and stuff. You right. That's right at the end. It's also hard for me to like not forget 2.0, because without 2.0 you wouldn't have some of these people in there. I really do believe that even though people call it developmental, I don't think it's developmental, because the talent's right there. It's a lot high quality talent, right? So but yeah, the quality of talent's there. It's a high quality. It shouldn't be considered developmental as they consider it. It should be considered its own brand, like it was.
Yeah.
I think the match that should come down the pike, and I want to talk about the women's side of it. I think Roxy's this is going to be Roxy's last match at Stand and Deliver.
I sure hope
think
so.
She goes up to the women's
it's
roster.
It's time.
I think she goes up to the women's roster and she goes straight up to Becky and slap Becky in the face. The way that promo starts off is that she has a problem with Becky. So you can have Becky and Roxy at SummerSlam and literally go from there and create that rivalry to start.
Oh, that could be so fun.
But you also have a problem with that, because you just you'll take two of their major talents in the women's division. You have Lyra as the champion. Think about it this way. Who's there to go against her if she's the champion? Now, that's the problem they have. And they're trying to rectify it by getting Tatum Paxley as up there quickly and stuff like that.
So Ruka's back.
Yeah, but the person they have in the cupboard they're not using is Nikita Lyons, and why not just use her to give somebody Lyra to go after, have a fight against Lyra, or get better yet. Here's the thing: give Thea Hale another shot, but it's not someone else. It's it's not Tiffany. Let her go at, because she's gonna feud with JC Jane for a while. Put some stakes into a match where you have her and JC Jane and literally go from there. The other person I think they're not utilizing much is Gigi Dolan, and that's kind of a shame because the talent's there and stuff.
100%. Absolutely. Guys, this has been a jam-packed episode. We got to get into it. Fellas, what did we miss from the week?
Man, we missed quite a bit. I'm sure. Between Okada making Alex sing "Happy Birthday" to all of the other things that happened, I loved all the shots of Bailey being supportive on Wednesday, but having to like bounce around the country to do all of these things. I don't know how any of these people sleep. There are so many different things that we could talk about that we didn't. Did we even talk about Kyle O'Reilly coming back? Did we talk about? I don't think we talked about any of that. There's a lot that happened this week, and I was thinking
one
about
thing major for me that happened this week, and it's not wrestling related.
Good.
Because that I know it's corny. The logo is basically like, you know, a nod to that, but the creator of
big deal.
Yeah, for me, because I'm a huge fan. Wrestling, and I've been a fan of wrestling since I was 4, but the love of it came around when I was like 9 or 10, watching Dragon Ball and stuff like that. Akira Toriyama was a major influence. Like, if you were a kid growing up in the 90s, you would run home to go see Toonami to watch the latest episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like, and stuff like that.
Toonami,
So
man, throwback.
For me, and that's why, like, I believe that wrestling and anime and manga and go in hand, and everybody's like, oh yeah, why would a guy, a podcaster would believe that? Good stories. That's all it's about. Whether it's, you know, about philosophy or anything like that. I told first episode of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, I said it straight out. Wrestling and anime, manga are hand in hand, and everybody's like, no, they're not. They're completely different forms. They are, but they tell good stories. That's the ultimate thing. And it's a loss in the anime community because of how big it was. He was working on multiple projects and stuff. You know, and the reason why it's also equated to talking about this on you guys' show with wrestling is that there was tributes out there for wrestlers too. There was a house show that Naomi and Zelina Vega did the fusion dance for at a lot, and it was recorded and stuff as tribute to, you know, Akira Toriyama. The New Day wore same gear at one of the WrestleManias they did, especially since Xavier had a unicorn horn when he did it. But anime in wrestling and stuff has been a major part of everything. And you'll notice, like, you know, Mortal Kombat cosplay outfits and stuff. Some of these guys, you know, it's just important to note that one person can change in everybody's lives, and especially within wrestling. And some of these people are fans of Akira Toriyama's work, that it's changed their life. And it's a major loss in the anime community. I think it's a major loss in the wrestling community, just because of the fact of the influence he had on some of these wrestling talent. You know, like I said, you had 2 major WWE talents on a house show do a fusion dance for on there from Dragon Ball. It's kind of a huge different thing, and it's a loss that it sucks. You know, nobody should lose their life or anything. Like, we've lost Bray last year and stuff. So, I mean, for me, that's the thing that people tend to miss because they're not in the anime community, because we pay attention to wrestling. But he does have an impact in wrestling just because of the fact that some of these wrestlers are fans of his.
Yeah, that influence doesn't just sit in Japan, right? Like, it's everywhere. And that was the other thing I wanted to mention. Another Japanese influence, a little bit more positive, even though the positive impact on wrestling, I think, can be felt from Dragon Ball specifically, because you have Kenny doing. There's so many different things. Kenny Omega doing the Final Fantasy stuff. Sammy's entire entrance is basically inspired by Dragon Ball, right? Like, it's anime, it's all of that. New Day has done stuff. So many people have done.
Ronda Rousey showing up in an Android 18 jacket.
Yes.
During a WWE event.
Yes.
Like,
it's everywhere.
It's one of the most major IPs out there. Freaking Dragon Ball Evolution sucked though, but still, it's just one of those things that you could see throughout these people that grew up like in my age or time, like yours and stuff like that, where it was a major deal. Yeah. Like, I remember watching Dragon Ball Super in in Japan with subtitles at the pizza shop I worked at the time, and I called that there were going to be two female sayings fusing, and everybody's like, "Oh, yeah, you're wrong. They would never do that." And the next week after the episode aired, they're looking at me like, "You're a jerk." Well, you figure this stuff out. You see the writing and the influence and stuff. I mean, Sasha is a huge anime fan. Bailey is a huge anime fan. Like all these people grew
Ricochet
up in
as well.
Yeah.
Keith Lee. It's everywhere.
It's just like, you know, it's just insane how much influence it is, especially if you're watching the Japanese version. Like,
yeah,
I just got finishing about a month and a half ago, Eminence in the Shadows, and that's a phenomenal anime in itself. And it's not Akira Toriyama, but you could see just wrestling and anime go hand in hand just because of the stories. You know, you could look at Hulk Hogan. I'll use this analogy. Goku goes Super Saiyan and freaking starts screaming. Hulk Hogan hulks up and he starts screaming. Yeah. There's so many things that inspired by Japanese lore and culture and stuff like that leaks into American culture. It's
all of Strong Style is basically that. It's that Takeshita Osprey match is exactly like them not selling for each other while they throw haymakers. It feels like a Japanese fight scene. It's just them killing each other until they both fall and then they both get back up. It's awesome. Yeah, I could see the influences everywhere, not just on ring gear, but on personalities and all the other things. I think it's pretty special. I just wanted to shout out Toho Studios for being the first Oscar winner. Godzilla won an Oscar this week. How cool is that? It's Godzilla won an Oscar. I don't care if it was visual effects. They were always going to be the only place that they were going to win. And I don't care. They won an Oscar. That effing rules.
100%. And Tucson's own Cord Jefferson also walked away with some gold for American Fiction, which was so great to see. Brad, for me, quick note, we got on the Bachelor side of things, the Women Tell All this week. I'm excited. I'll have notes next week. We got March Madness kicking off. There's movement around the NFL right now with players going to different cities, Jones, trades, free agents, get ready for the draft. There is a lot happening. Rest assured, we'll be getting into it all next week. Throwback. This was an absolute blast. Thank you for coming on, brother. I'm so glad that you made your GI debut. Please fill us in. What is the best way to follow your work and show love?
So I'm going to throw this thing out because I've been doing some NFL talk too, just because I got that itch going on. Patriots have the 3rd round pick. Don't be surprised they trade out in it. And there's something I think, and I put this on Sean's thing for his Bengals channel. Go check out Sean's work for his Bengal thoughts and stuff at the Common Bagels fan. I put in there that with T. Higgins wanting a trade, I wouldn't be shocked if the Pats offer a 5th and then a 3rd or something like that next year for Higgins. But I have a feeling they're going to trade down with the Vikings and take the 11th and the 23rd, and they'll probably throw Jefferson in there in the mix or something like that. But keep an eye on the draft. If you see the Pats ready to trade out, don't be surprised, because I'm like in my very, very small minority that I'm not high on the quarterbacks this year. It's as people are saying they're great. You can get somebody to substitute the quarterback position and wait till next year to see where it goes. For socials and stuff, you can find me at Wicked Crazy Pinfalls on YouTube at Throwback 27. You can find me on Twitter, which is, Throwback 978. You can find me on the Roundtable podcast on Tuesday nights. I've been slacking a bit, doing watch-alongs and stuff. Just life gets in the way. You go on Twitch and just search for Pro Wrestling Podcast, Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. There's so much we do for everybody. On Mondays, we cover Raw. We do trivia night on Wednesday nights and, do AEW and stuff. They do Collision, Rampage and SmackDown. There's some stuff that we're talking about maybe possibly doing. But other than that, everybody, hit the Twitter up. It's right there on the bottom, Throwback 978. All I got to say is, go support the local businesses. Go support each other and do a good deed and pay it forward.
Yeah, amen to that.
period. Well, you can also find us many places, gimmickinfringementpod.com, on X and IG at GIPod19, and of course on Facebook at Gimmick Infringement. Thank you for being here, and we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.